Joining us now at the dais is Baylor head coach Jim Grobe. Welcome, Coach, and your thoughts about the upcoming season.
Well, I'm probably more excited than any coach in America to get the season started. Looking forward to August 4th, our first practice day. I will tell you, I've been around our players for a while now. I still am trying to learn all the names. I know most of the kids' first names by now. They know me as coach, so it's been a little easier job for them. But I've been very impressed with our players. We've got a great group of kids. I've been impressed with our coaching staff and the way they've handled themselves in this adversity. They've been on vacation for a while. I wanted to keep their vacation schedules sort of the same that Art had, and so they've had some time with their families, and I think they're back and ready to go, so we'll be spending some more time together. But I've been very impressed with our players and with our coaching staff. I know the challenge is great. We've got a lot of good football teams going forward, but I want people to understand that we've got a great group of kids at Baylor University, and I think Baylor going forward is better than we've ever been. So I'm proud to be at Baylor and can't wait to get started on the season.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach. We're going to start in the rear on the middle. And if you guys would please give your name and affiliation, please.
Hey, Coach. Nate Fain, Game Day U at the University of Oklahoma right here. What can we expect that will be different from Jim Grobe's Baylor football team as opposed to Art Briles' football team?
Well, I really have been so impressed with what Art and the football program's accomplished over the last few years. And, I'm an old West Virginia hillbilly, and we got that feeling, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So from strictly a football perspective, I think we want to continue to play fast and furious on offense. We want to keep those same principles that Art had. Defensively, I think Phil Bennett, our defensive coordinator, is as good as there is in the country. It's a challenge at Baylor because the defense has had to typically play a few more snaps than most people. They get more series out on the field. But I think, I think Phil's doing a great job kind of combining four-man and three-man fronts. We're a little thin in the defensive line, so we may have to play some more three-man front stuff. I think I've always been a guy who stressed special teams, so that's something that in talking to the coaches, I think we might be able to improve on a little bit. And I think, the thing that we want to do is we want to continue to play hard. I'll know more once we get into practice. I think there's some things. I like what we've done offensively and defensively in the past. I think as we get into practice, it'll give me a better bead on what we might need to improve. But I've been a head coach now for 20 years, going on 40 years of coaching, and so I've seen a lot of things. And so I'm not here to make a lot of changes. I thought that was really important, especially for our players, to have the same terminology, the same schemes, those type things, as much as possible. But hopefully, as we go forward, if I do see things that I think might help us be a little bit better, we would put maybe a little different spin on a few things. But I'm not here to change a whole lot.
All the way in the rear, and then we're going to come around to this side.
Myron Patton, Fox 25, Oklahoma City. It's obviously been a turbulent several months for the program there. How do you keep your players from having a woe is me attitude? Football is something you got to want to do. How do you keep their spirits up and keep them working and I guess being excited about the upcoming season?
Well, it absolutely it was a challenge, and there was no roadmap to this. When I got in and first met with the team, I think they were somewhat skeptical of a lot of things. They were certainly heartbroken that they lost Art. I know the staff was in shock, and so it's been a journey. To be honest, I think we've gotten to the point now where the players are trusting of me. I think they understand that I'm here to help. I'm not here to change things. Some coaches come in and they try to run off the old guys' players and bring in their fresh recruiting classes. I'm not here to do that. A lot of coaches come in, and this is probably a little bit unprecedented. I don't know how many head coaches have taken over a program and kept all of the assistant coaches, but I felt like that was important for our players, with our players' welfare first and foremost. So we're to a point now where the players have had time to digest everything. I've spent enough time with them. I think now that they understand I'm fully here to help them. And I think our coaches understand the same thing. I've never been a head coach that's lost the perspective of being an assistant coach. I've always wanted to be an assistant coach. To this very day, I would like to make all the decisions that head coaches make, but coach the linebackers and have nobody know I'm the head coach. So I've always had an assistant coach mentality, so I want to support our coaches as much as I possibly can. And I felt like in keeping the coaching staff together, there's nothing that would be more settling to the players than to have their coach in that meeting room every day. So I feel like we're on track. I think the kids are pumped up. The coaches are getting back in from vacation now, and so I think everybody's on point to start playing some football.
We got a question on the left side, Coach, about halfway back.
Coach, with all the talk that's been surrounding the program, it's all been non-football recently, and all the success that Art had on the field and in the standings, how daunting is this task for you to come in and try to continue that while also changing the culture off the field? Well,
there's no question that this is a daunting task, and as I mentioned before, there's no real roadmap for this. I do think that, for me personally, I admire what Art's football teams have been able to accomplish on the field. I really don't want to change that. I'm hopeful that we can continue to be very competitive every time out. We talk so much about changing the culture. That's not the deal with these players at Baylor. And I think most people understand this. The majority of our kids are great kids. I mean, great kids. And it's a shame when a few guys can really hurt a large group of people in such a devastating way, really. And so from our standpoint, what I want to do is let people know that the majority of our kids are fantastic kids. And their programs, the problems that we're dealing with at Baylor or have dealt with at Baylor to this point are problems that are probably at every university in the country. I hate to say every one, but I would guess that most universities are having some of the same issues that we've had at Baylor. You can make a call as to whether you think Baylor was too strong in the way they dealt with it. Unbelievably, I've had people tell me they don't think they dealt with it strongly enough. But I think going forward, do we want to learn from our past mistakes? We absolutely want to learn from our past mistakes, and we're doing that. Baylor University right now is better than ever because we've confronted some problems and made some changes in the way we deal with problems going forward. And I'm talking about serious problems. I'm not talking about missing class and being late to weights and those type things. But I think the things that we've put in place at Baylor right now, and it's an ongoing process, are going to help us be better going forward. So from my standpoint, I want to put my arms around the good kids that we've got and love them up. And I've been able to do that, I think. Now, once we start football practice, I might have to kick them in the seat of the pants once in a while. But my whole attitude has been that, and everybody knows this, that the majority of the kids that we've got in our program are fantastic kids. And we need to continue to stress that. We've had some misbehavior on some kids' parts, and it's been hurtful to so many people. But I think going forward, the message that I would like for people to get is that, Baylor University, we've got a wonderful school. We've got a great compass where we want to go right now. We're on track to be better than we've ever been, and we really have an outstanding group of young men.
All the way in the rear, put your hand up on the left. There you go.
Coach, back here. Lindsay Schnell from Sports Illustrated. Baylor Talk has dominated Big 12 Media Days so far, and you're probably going to be asked all season about something you had no part in. Why did you want to take this job?
Well, I really felt like when Coach Taft called, I worked with Coach Taft with the American Football Coaches Association. I was on his ethics committee. I chaired his ethics committee for 7 or 8 years. He originally promised me 3 years, but he's hard to say no to, so he kept me on there. And, I did a lot of different committee work. I did All-American Committee. I did the Rules Committee. I did Top 25 voting, all those things that I did for Coach Taft and with Coach Taft. And he just called that night when Art had been let go and asked if I would come and help. And, I don't think Coach knew that I had him on speakerphone, and my wife got to hear that. And she wasn't very happy about that at the time. We had some pretty nice trips planned. I had not done the travel thing. I worked for Fox Sports on the ACC Gridiron Live show when I first left Wake Forest and tried to get in my second year, but nothing really worked out that I wanted. And so we'd planned a lot of things to do together. And we went home and prayed about it and got up the next day and spent some time. And I just felt like the main reason was Coach Taft. And with that, being able to help and be in a position where, I've got some experience. I'm not trying to come in here and make a career move. I'm here to help. I'm here to help the players first and foremost, and secondly, help this coaching staff get back on track.
Another question all the way in the rear.
Chase Williams, Fox 4, Dallas. Coach, what's the biggest challenge, and do you feel that it's your responsibility to help rebuild the image of the Baylor football program?
Well, I think it's really, really important for our players to understand that they're going to be closely watched. My point to the players is let's make sure that the things we're in the newspaper for or on TV or on radio going forward are for making tackles and scoring touchdowns. That's what we want to do. We want to be known, for doing the right things. I think obviously there's nothing more important to me. I don't think there's anything more important to any coach than having good kids, having good character, doing good things on and off the field. We've got a ton of kids on our football team that take mission trips, that do community service, that help in the community. And so we've got a wonderful group of kids on our football team. Going forward, they have to understand that an individual's actions can adversely hurt and reflect on so many people. So I think from our perspective going forward, our players understand that and I don't want to take away from winning. Winning's very, very important, but absolutely nothing is more important than our kids' character and integrity. And I think we need to show that in everything we do, that Baylor's a fantastic place to go to school, and that we have fantastic kids playing for us.
Got a question on the front left side, all the way over on the left.
Jim, Mike Leslie from WFA here in Dallas. So much has been made about the assistant coaches remaining on your staff that were part of Art Briles' staff and that were a part of that culture. And yesterday, interim President Garland said that the way that you guys changed the culture is by having a new president, a new athletic director, a new head coach. But obviously those coaches do still remain in their position. So the question is, what have you implemented in your obviously short time still at this point within the Baylor family? What have you changed to help modify the culture that exists there?
Well, I have to push back again and tell you there is that is not a culture at Baylor University. We don't have a culture of bad behavior at Baylor University. And our kids, I thought Holly and I had a tough time raising two sons in Matt and Ben, and they both turned out to be great kids. But, raising anybody that's raised kids understands that when you got over 100 of those guys, it's a little bit tougher. But for me personally, when I took the job, I was assured that I could make any changes with the coaching staff that I needed to make. When I got here, my plan was to be at Baylor's direction. Really, I'm working for Baylor University, and when I got here, I found I've had nobody tell me about assistant coaches' misbehavior. If our assistant coaches' conduct had been bad, if anybody had told me that, if anybody can come to me and point out that the coaches have not behaved properly, then I would have no problems making changes. But I think from a player's standpoint, from our players' perspective, we lost our president, we lost our athletic director, we lost our football coach, we lost some other staff members, And so for me to come in and make changes without reason made no sense to me whatsoever. I will tell you that as a coach, I've never been a coach to hire friends. I think the tendency for any new coach from a comfort perspective is to come in and make a lot of changes and bring all these buddies in to coach for him. But looking back at what this football staff has done, and I'm strictly talking about football right now, they've been very successful and done a great job on the field. If I felt like there was misconduct on the part of any of my coaches, I would have no problems dealing with that. But as I said, I've not found that to be the case, and nobody has told me that that is the case. And so going forward, in thinking of the great kids that we have on our team right now, I felt like the best thing we could do for them is to try to keep consistency in the coaches, have the same coach in the meeting room, have the same terminology, and try to put our arms around the players and take care of them. And I thought the best way to take care of them was to try to keep the coaching staff together as long as I didn't find any problems when I got here.
Got a question on the rear, right in the middle.
Coach Nick Kruger with Rivals.com. With the players that the school chose to let go from the 2016 class and some of the kids that were committed early in 2017 that chose to decommit, and obviously a final resolution still kind of pending with things right now, what is your expectation? What is your strategy for player replenishment and recruiting going forward?
Well, that's an issue for us right now. I think one of our biggest challenges playing this season and going forward is numbers. I think we're at about 70 full scholarship kids right now. We're allowed 85, so our numbers are down. But it's not just from decommitted kids, and I would want to let everybody understand that the kids that did come to Baylor, that stayed committed to Baylor, are a really talented, wonderful group of kids that honored their commitment. And I couldn't be more excited or happier with the freshmen that are at Baylor right now. The decommits, there were probably about, and I'm just going to give you a ballpark, I think there were probably 4 kids that were difference maker type kids, and were really disappointed to lose them. There were some kids that were probably project kids that needed to develop. So I think we can, in this recruiting class coming up, we can replace them. Had a couple kids that were in trouble academically. We had 4 kids that have been medically disqualified that are hurt to the extent that they can't play football again. And of course, we had some misbehavior kids. And so that takes us down to 70 scholarships. I think we'll probably come to camp with somewhere around 100 kids, counting our walk-on kids, and we've got some really good walk-on kids that'll help us. We're going to have to be a little creative in our practice, try to make sure that, we don't get anybody banged up by doing too much in any one practice because of our numbers. But I like our talent. I like where we are, and I think going forward in recruiting, we're probably going to have 25 full scholarships to give in the next recruiting class. And if I was a young guy out there, realizing that Baylor's dealt with some issues that, needed to be dealt with that maybe aren't being dealt with at some other places, I think going forward, we should hit a home run with this next recruiting class. And the nice thing for kids coming in next year will be that when they come in, they know they're going to have a chance to play in a hurry.
Okay, Coach, thank you very much for your comments. If you'll come sign a couple of footballs, wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.